All right. Today is December 29th, 2025, and this is my review. Um, Today was a good session. It was a very good session. Up, what is this? $275 for commissions. Um, I wanted to try something new today. Um, Today was very different from sessions I've traded in the past, and it should be because I've taken almost 2 weeks off from trading. This is my first day back. It's also my first day with a new account with the Futures Desk. I wanted to invest in an account that I want to keep alive for a long time. Um, so first day new account. I wanted to invest in an account that I want to keep alive for a long time, um, as opposed to just um, burning through these paper accounts. So we're coming up on the end of the year, and my goal for 2026 is to trade the same account the entire time. I don't want to reset once the entire year, which is difficult. It's a hard challenge, but I think I'm setting myself up for much better habits. And the goal isn't necessarily to make money in 2026, but just to not blow any accounts, to keep one account alive as if it were my own. So, with that in mind, I did want to change my trading philosophy a little bit. And what I did differently today was I traded micros and I traded minis. The difference being that the micros are 1/5 of the size as the minis that I'm trading. So I'm trading 2 lots mini and I'm trading 5 lot micro, which equals 1/5. So $100 per point on the minis and $20 per point on the micros. The reason I want to have two different sizes is that I honestly think there are two different setup qualities. Um, Anything that's below an A or an A plus, I should be trading with 1/5 size. I think it's really as simple as that. Um, I still think the B and the C and the D tier setups are worth trading in the sense that it's essentially data collection. I'm collecting data on those types of trades, um, and it's refining my process. It's refining the setup. I know what's working, what's not working, and it also in the session I can know through those smaller trades what's working and what's not. If I take, 3 consecutive losses on micros, trading one particular setup, I'm going to know not to take that setup on full size because it's not working today. And that's kind of been one of the biggest struggles of my trading lately is like, when do I know what's working and what's not? And I think that having these 1/5 size trades coming in throughout the session, it's kind of giving me a better feel for the market. And it's also keeping me engaged. It's keeping me focused on price action. One of the problems I run into is that if I tell myself, okay, I'm only going to take A plus trades today, um, first of all, you maybe only get one A plus trade per session, if that. And what am I doing outside of that? If I'm not, my focus wanes. It like slowly diminishes over the course of the session. Um, and I miss those A plus opportunities, or by the time they come, I'm not focused enough to execute properly. My theory is that if I'm trading these lower quality setups with much smaller size, the frequency is going to be much higher, which is going to force me to focus more throughout the session. Um, uh, which I think I did a good job of that today. If we filter for, um, me let me highlight the ones that I'm on here. H6, H6. So if I filter for just minis, I would be up 425 today, which is a lot, and 100% win rate. I had 3 trades on full size, meaning like the A or above setups, 100% win rate, um, and the average win was $141, so very steady. If I filter for micros, you can see I was down on the day, down $150. So, yes, it would be nice if I was up, $450 and I didn't take any of these micro trades. But what's important to understand is that these micro trades helped me capture those big full size trades. Um, it's they keep me focused, they keep me occupied, and it also tells me what's not working. And later in the session, you could see um, these trade micro trades stopped working, and I knew what was wrong. I knew what the price action was doing and what not to fight and what to press, and it allowed me to capture more ticks on the full size trades when they came. So, so I think I did a good job today. I maintained focus throughout the entire session, and I ended up with a very nice P&L. I think $250 a day is what I'm going to aim for with this account. So, some quick stats here. The total number of trades I took altogether was 17. I had a 41% win rate. My average winning trade was $75.71, and my average losing trade was $25.05. So huge difference in the P&L there, and that's because the losses I was taking were on smaller size. I was unsure about the risk reward and the expected value. But when those big trades came, I was sure. I knew what the expected value was. I knew what the risk was, stuff like that. Um, so yeah, let's get into some trades here. Um, I think for these reviews, I want to cover the full size trades first. Uh, I want to get really in depth into those ones um, because they're the most important, and then we will cover the micro trades and just briefly go over what I think was going wrong during those trades. Let's start with the first full size trade. It's trade number 7. And it was a 6-tick profit to the long side. Let's watch the recording here. The 3 factor here with slip favor. Try the long 55.50. Take it out at 57. Got it. Got the fill. So very nice pullback retest here. I'm going to want to screenshot this. So plus 6 ticks long. I'll call this an A setup. So what's happening here is essentially we have a very nice level to play with here, and we overshoot. We come back up, and then we retest before going higher. So we've got a historical pivot area here. We breach it and overshoot, but we essentially V flush and come back up. So V flush. Retest. My entry was roughly here, I think. My exit was roughly here. So nice little historical pivot area here. We got the V flush. We've got the reclaim advantage. Get the reclaim assist. We got pretty strong numbers on the tape there. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Reclaim assisted V flush. Very, very easy trade. So let's paste that screenshot in there. Let's get into some tags. This was a setup. This was technically a delta flip, delta pivot. I actually want to change the name of those. We had a very nice support resistance area. We had V-Flush, we had Reclaim Favor. Order blocks. I don't have order blocks highlighted on here. I need to change that so that I can actually see them. We can circle back to that though. I might make a tag for overshoot. Actually, let's do this. I think this is good enough. So we had V-Flush Favor. Trend, I wouldn't necessarily say it would have trend or range favor. I think we're kind of in an in-between area right now. And I think that's it. Any areas of interest? I don't think so. At least not I can see. So we did have a pretty high convergence level here. I think it was 1, 2, 3 at least. And maybe I will put a tag for overshoot on here. Yeah, I do want an overshoot tag because I want to track when price blows past a level, but then still ends up respecting it. I just want to have data on that. Enter good, exit good. I don't think I would have changed a single thing about it. This was a pretty conservative scalp. And I'm going to go with mean reversion because I was playing the pivot here. No mistakes. I did have slip favor on it. I was pretty clear. I was calm. Did I have a heart rate monitor? I did. I was content and I was pretty patient at this point. I waited. This is 9:47 was my first full size trade, so I did wait for the appropriate setup there, and this will be a green star. Let's move to the next full size trade. It's trade number 13. It is a 3-tick profit to the short side. Let's listen to the recording.
Pretty high here as well.
Yeah, there's 53s. Try the short, 54. I'm going to take it for the point if it'll give it to me. Just because it's getting a little accepty up here. Got the point. So I thought I got a point profit, but it was only 3 ticks. This again is a very good setup. I'm going to screenshot it real quick. I would again go as far as to call this an A setup. Pivot areas. And we've got two here. We've got one on the 30-second and we've got one on the 3-second. We fall just short of the one on the 3-second, but we overshoot the one on the 30-second. So this is just a pretty simple pivot. I am expecting price to pivot here. Yeah, it does. It does pivot, and I actually think this could have went on to be a much bigger win. But I do think the exit was justified because it did start to look like it was accepting up here. And while today was mostly mean reversion, there were a couple really nasty breakouts, and I didn't want to be caught on the wrong end of a breakout at full size. That would have really hurt. So I think it was a pretty good thing that I got out for 3-tick win. Put my little blurb here. This was a plus 3-tick short A setup. So not quite A plus. There were a lot of convergences here. Yeah, I think we're looking pretty good. Cool. I will paste that screenshot in there. And then as for tags, I don't think we had an area of interest, did we? No. What is this, though? Opening range high. Yeah, I wouldn't really count that as a very significant area. However, we did have multiple support resistance areas. We had a convergence ×4, and it overshot it again. This seems to have been happening a lot today. Short is trend favor at this point. I do think there's a pretty established downtrend. I had slip favor on this one. This was a conservative scalp mean reversion. I will also call this a delta pivot, A setup. And I don't think there's a whole lot else. I might even actually go as far as to call this. No, that's okay. I'll leave it as is. I think this is still pretty solid as it is. Compression, maybe? No. I wish I had my order blocks on. Oh, I can actually see some. There are some order blocks in my favor. Small order blocks in favor. And I think that's it. Entry good. Exit. Exit is kind of early, but in all honesty, I think, given the circumstances, it was good to get out of this trade for what I did. So I'm going to call it a good exit. No mistakes. I was very clear on the setup. I was very calm. My heart rate was below 100. I was content and I was patient. This will be a green star. And then last trade was the last full-size trade and the last trade of the day. Trade number 17, which was an 8-tick profit to the short side.
It's more negative and it's gone up. They just fucking just rug pulling all the offers.
So you can see I get short here at 52.75. This is again going to be a pivot off the 53 area. It's very similar to last trade.
15-minute has a pivot up here.
Looks like I nail it for
Pivot forward.
short. Now, if just for shits and giggles, if I fast forward the video, this does go a lot lower. I probably could have even gotten 3 points out of it, but holding that long with full size is pretty sketchy. I didn't exactly want to push it that forward. So let's take a screenshot here. Lost my train of thought. +8 ticks short. And I'm going to call this A plus setup. So, very strong downtrend at this point, and we're putting in a lot of pivots. I will mark them on the 30-second. I'll even maybe highlight that one. A lot of downward pivots, and we're pivoting off of a historical pivot area. Excuse me. That also has high level of convergence. So I'll highlight that. 1, 2, 3. And I also had, I counted it as 5. We had 5 convergences at this level. It's also a historical pivot area. Historical pivot area. I might even create a custom tag for that. Yeah, I think I will. And then as far as executions go, I was short at 52.75, I believe, right? Yeah. So 52.75, and then I took it off at 50.75. My entry, my exit. And that's honestly it. There is nothing too complex about this trade, and that's honestly why I like it so much. We just had a very high expectation that it was going to pivot here, and it did. So this was a delta pivot, A+ setup. I still don't have my order blocks on. I wish I did. I can actually probably see whether I had any big ones. Yeah, I think I would have had at least one big order block. So let's trade big order block. There was an area of interest here. Oh, opening range high, and we touch it to the tick pretty much. Area of interest. Support resistance area, but honestly, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change support resistance area to HPA. And what I want HPA to signify is historical pivot area. And I'll even move it up in the queue here, because I am very interested in that tag. I'll even move my lower frequency. My lower frequency tags to the bottom there. So we had a historical pivot area. We had trend favor. We were short into a very nice strong trend, downtrend. And I think that's it. I'll call that multiple factors support since it is technically 4 or above. Entry good. I'll tag exit early. I do think I could have gotten a little bit more out of it, but considering where my P&L was on the day, I think it was a good idea to take it off where I did. This was a conservative scalp mean reversion with slip favor. I was clear. I was very calm. My heart rate when I took the trade was in the 90s. I was content and I was patient. I waited a long time for this trade. And I think that's about it. Yeah, got the screenshot in there and everything. So that's where I stand on my full-size trades. I had 3 of them. They were all A or above, and they were all honestly really good trades. I just want to spend a couple minutes going through some of the micro trades. A lot of these were ATR continuation. I'll even bring that back down to 1 second. So this one was ATR continuation. I'll give it a C. I'll give it a B setup because the trend is very strong at the time. This is trade number 1, by the way. Trade number 1 was a 4-tick profit to the long side. Very strong. Conservative scalp with momentum. Slip favor. Market read in between. I think a lot of these are going to be in between on the micros. And honestly, I'm considering not tagging emotional tags for these. Yeah, I'm going to leave emotional tags blank. This will be a green star. Trade number 2 is a 4-tick loss to the long side. It looks like I was just trying to do the same thing. But if I fast forward, it would have worked with more drawdown, I think. No, it wouldn't have. So this was a good cut. This will be a yellow star. I did have trend favor at the time. I did have slip favor. Should I tag execution on these? I can't because I can't see the actual entry and exit price. This was also a conservative scalp with momentum. ATR continuation trade. I'm gonna call this one a D setup though, because I do think there are signs that this trend is starting to turn around at this point, and we have such a massive reclaim against us. In between on clarity. Trade number 3 is a 5-tick profit to the short side. Again on micros. I like this one a lot more because we're putting in pivots and it looks like the trend has changed. So again, ATR. Oh, sorry, this is actually ATR fade, and I think the last two were also ATR fade. Yeah, because I'm fading into a pullback. That's right. I'm rusty. I gotta remember what my setups are. This one was a conservative scalp with momentum. Actually, I'm going to call this one mean reversion because we are very overextended at this point. I did have slip favor. I'll call this one a B setup. I do like this one a lot. We had fat reclaim favor below us. This is also kind of a prior value area. Yeah, what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to make two different setups. One is going to be called prior value area. I should actually get rid of this a tag. I want to get rid of channel because I don't ever really see channels anymore. New tag, and this will be called historical pivot area. Wait, what did I just do? All right. I think I know what I'm doing now. I'm going to throw the prior value area tag on here because we do have a nice little curve on the volume profile, and we come up and retest it before continuing lower. So I do count that as a little prior value area test there. And I think that's it. There's nothing too crazy about this trade. In between on clarity, I'll call it a green star. Trade number 4, 7 ticks to the short side, and it's very similar to my last one. This is a continuation though, so ATR continuation. I'll call it a C setup. We do still have a lot of reclaim below us, which is nice. And we still are kind of stair-stepping downwards. Yeah, I'll still tag this as prior value area. Conservative scalp with momentum. Actually, this is still going to be mean reversion because the trend hasn't really established yet. I do have slip favor, and I'm clear on it. This will also be a green star. Trade number 5, 4-tick loss to the short side. And it's just a little too early. The entry is early on here. I might tag this as price action too tight. because I would have liked this to pull back further before I took the trade. It does end up working though. Maybe this was just a botched execution. Yeah, I'll take entry early on there and exit early. Actually, the entry's pretty good. I think it was just the exit that was early. Entry good, exit early. You know what? I'm going to have to change some of these tags. So I'm not going to tag entry on here. I'm only going to tag hold more, meaning that I should have held this one longer. This was a ATR candle fade. And at this point, I would call this a trend. I did have trend favor. I also had reclaim favor. This isn't really a prior value area because I didn't wait for the full retest. So I'm going to call this a D setup. This was a conservative scalp with momentum. I had slip favor, but it wasn't quite enough. I wish it pulled back a little bit more, and I was clear. I'll give this a yellow star. Trade number 6, 4-tick loss to the short side. Kind of looks like the same mistake, although we have come down a lot. Yeah, this is when I get stuck on the wrong side of the V. So, this was an ATR candle fade, but again, price action's too tight. This was an aggressive scalp with momentum. Factor support was really just trend. If anything, there's reclaim against me at this point. In between, slip favor. This will be a yellow star. Actually, this will be a red star. Trade number 6, I do not like at all. Trade number 7, we've already tagged. Let's go to trade number 8. This was a 6-tick profit to the long side. Kind of looks like we're on the right side of the V here. I think that was an ATR candle continuation. So ATR continuation. Kind of trend against though at this point. I do suspect a slip range here. I just can't identify in hindsight. I do think this is an aggressive scalp again because there's just I'm long against the trend, and in mistakes I'm actually going to put trend against. Oh, sorry, no, I'm short. I'm short here. This is still aggressive though, getting short down here. So this is actually going to be an ATR candle fade. This is aggressive, although we do have the trend favor. There's no slip range here, so I'm going to do slip none and in between. I think that's probably pretty good. I'm going to tag price action too tight. I should be waiting for it to widen a little bit more. That'll be a yellow star. Actually, no, that'll be a red star again. Trade number 9, 6-tick loss to the short side. Yeah, I think I'm trying to short a breakout here. entry early. This was an ATR candle fade. This one was a little bit more conservative. This was a mean reversion scalp. But I'm early. My entry's early. We did have, this was a short, right? So we did have trend favor. It's weird that my shorts aren't working. Every trade for the rest of the day is short, and most of them are losses. Slip, again, there's not really a slip range here, so I'm going to do none, slip none. In between, setup quality D. It's a D setup. I'm also going to red star this one. Trade number 10 is a break even to the short side. I can kind of see what I'm doing, but again, price action is too tight. I'm not waiting for it to widen. That was my problem today. I was getting price action was just way too tight. It did go on to work though. I mean, I could have gotten maybe a point out of it. So I'll do hold more on that one. That was an ATR fade with trend favor. Setup quality C maybe. But price action is still too tight. Conservative, scalp momentum. In between. This will be a yellow star. Trade 11, 5 tick loss to the short side. I like this one a lot more because it is wide. It is a very wide pullback. We just have a breakout. It breaks out against me, which is unfortunate, but it's a good attempt. So this one might actually be a green star, even though it's a loss. ATR fade, trend favor, conservative scalp with momentum. And I did have slip favor. There is a slip range here. Exit good in between. Yeah, that'll be a green star. Setup quality, I would even go as far as to call that a B, because we do have a pivot area above us. It just ends up breaking out of that pivot area. Trade number 12, 7 tick loss to the short side. Bit of a slip range. I could see what I was doing here, but again, I think price action is too tight. Slip favor, conservative scalp, momentum. ATR fade, setup quality C, not good. But I did have trend favor, clarity in between. I will yellow star that one. Trade 14 is a 5 tick profit to the short side. Again, we already tagged trade 13. Trade 14 looks like a pretty clear replica of the last one, but I just wait for it to widen a little bit more. It does pull back on me quite a bit. What was my MAE on here? So my MAE was 4 ticks, my MFE was 6 ticks, which I think is pretty good. I'll call that a B setup. Trend favor. I would even go as far as to call this a PVA, prior value area. ATR fade. This was a conservative scalp with momentum. Slip favor. And I'll say clear. I was pretty clear on that, especially since trade number 13 was a win. Trade number 14 was also a win. It's nice when I get 2 in a row like that. And I will green star it. Trade 15, an 11 tick loss to the short side. This was a big one. Biggest loss of the day. Granted on small size, 1/5 size trade, but still a big loss. Even on 1/5 size. I could see what I was doing here, though. This does look like a good setup. And I'm holding it for quite a while. I was in this for 58 seconds. Yeah, I think it was a good attempt. Good. I'll even green star this one. 11 ticks seems like a very big loss, but it's a green star. I like this trade a lot. It's nice and loose. We have a nice loose price action. I've got the slip favor on it. I'm still pretty conservative. I wait for it to come up to where I need it to. However, this was a move to move. I had a clear target in mind, and it was basically low of day. I think it was. I get short at 48, and I think I wanted 45 out of it, 45 or 44. So I had a 4 point target on this one. So it makes sense that I took 3 points of heat on it. I was very clear about this. This was a mean reversion trade. The entry and the exit were both good. I had ATR fade. I'm pretty sure I did. And I'll even call this a B setup. And I think I even had like a 3x convergence on it, which I don't usually care about with these 1/5 size trades. I had trend favor. I had a bit of a reclaim below us, which was nice. That was working for us. And I think that's it. Yeah, I'll green star this one for sure. It was a good loss. It was a good attempt. And then trade 16 is a 6-tick loss to the short side, and it looks like it's try 2. It's a try 2 of the last one. It looks like it works a little bit in my favor, but then it doesn't. And what's interesting about this is after this trade fails and I take a 6-tick loss, it comes up and it tests a very significant area, prior, what do I call them? Historical pivot area. And that's how I get into my last trade of the day on full size. My best trade number 17, which was an 8-tick profit on full size. So why I'm mentioning that is because I do think it's interesting that I'm using micros on this setup that's not working, but as the setup continues to fail, it actually gets better in quality. So much so to the point where I'm willing to take it on full size, even though I've already taken 2 losses on it, which I do think is very interesting. However, there is also the if you're going to think about it that way, you also have to be devil's advocate and think that had I not taken those first 2 losses, the expected value on the trade itself would have been way bigger, and my P&L would have been much better on the day. But these 2 losses that I took kept me focused and alerted me to the fact that, oh, there's something big setting up here, and it did set up. And I even think if you fast forward the video, my short idea, it's not crazy. I don't think it would have been worth 10 points or anything, but it's still a good short idea. So much so that I was able to juice my best trade of the day out of it. So with that in mind, trade 16 is going to be a green star trade. It's another good attempt. It was a conservative move to move mean reversion. Entry good, exit good. I don't really call this slip anymore. I'm going to do slip none. I know that's kind of contradictory to my last trade, but it's just what I see. I don't see slip anymore. This was a B tier. I'll call it a C tier. It's not quite as good as my prior attempt, but it was worth the try too. It was an ATR fade, and it had reclaim and trend favor. and it'll be a green star. And that's pretty much it. So, despite despite trade 15 and 16 being big losses, they were both green star. They were good attempts, and they actually helped me finesse my last trade of the day, which ate more than enough of those losses to come out green on the day. So that kind of brings me back to my first point, that while it does suck that I had how many losses in micros did I have today? Yeah, while it does suck that I lost $150 with micros today, those losses that I took were information, and that information allowed me to place really good trades with the full size, which netted $425 of profit. So if I have to take $150 worth of losses to make $400 worth of wins, then I'll take that trade. That's just expected value. I'll take that trade every day of the week. Just to touch on some daily report card stuff real quick. I think the grade that I would give myself today would probably be B plus. I think I did pretty good, all things considering, especially my first day back in a while. I by no means want to replicate these results and push for this kind of P&L result over the next couple days. I want to take things easy, take things slow. Today was just kind of my ideal price action. So I was able to hit the gas like I did. But in the next couple days, it's important I remember that I still take things slow. I ease my way back into things, and I don't take today as a sign of overconfidence or anything like that. Real quick, I just want to go to my profile real quick. I need a long-term goal. I think my long-term goal should be to never lose more than 1% of my account, or actually, sorry, 2% of my account on a single trade. And that counts trade ideas too. I do not want to fall in love with a trade idea and end up losing more than 2% of my account on it. I think 2% is even very liberal as far as a single trade idea goes. And I did that today. I think if I add up those two final losses I took, yeah, that's only, if I add those two final losses, that's still only $90, which is less than 1% of my account. So I'm very happy with that. And I ended up actually making 2% of my account off of the reward. So that is a fair risk reward for sure right there. And I like it. So that'll probably be my single long-term goal moving forward, is to never risk 2% or $200 on a single trade idea. If I can keep that in check, even if there's a death by 1,000 paper cuts situation, at least the bleed will be slow enough that I can diagnose it and fix the problems before they become too bad. And at least diversify my losses. You know, it sounds weird to say diversify your losses, but at least it's not a quick sudden drawdown. It's a slow, more smooth drawdown that I can actually work my way out of instead of taking huge losses. So follow my long-term goal today in that case. So I think that's pretty much it. Best trade of the day today was for sure the last trade. It was also the easiest. My heart rate was very low for that trade. It instantly worked in my favor. I didn't take more than 2 ticks of drawdown, I think. Yeah, 2 ticks drawdown, 8 ticks reward. Super, super easy trade. A plus. Trade number 17. That is. Loved that trade. And then best missed opportunity. Was it trade? This one. I think trade 13. I could have held it a little longer. It did slip range against me for a while, but the idea did end up working. And had I held a little bit longer, that trade could have also been 8 ticks or even more. And that's trade number 13. So just a bit of an execution error on that one. Had I held it a little bit longer, it would have been a great trade. But I also kind of understand why I got out of it earlier there. It was a great short opportunity, and I'm glad I'm realizing that now, even in hindsight, so that I can hopefully capture more of those pivots in the future. So I'll end my review there.